whereas I grieved that moment, and I'm like, God have mercy. And surely you would, but maybe that's the result of not stewarding life or stewarding our time properly. Welcome, guy. So, welcome to the cluster. But so as we've been gathering as a church planting, if you don't know, planting into Kingston, and we're like just building things gradually, and we gather every Sunday. So if you want to join us, hit us up, send a text, reach out to us anyhow possible, on Cluster Church.
Let's go.
And we'll want to connect with you. But as we gather, we've been unpacking so many things that maybe very theological, or maybe into the deep side of Bible teachings, but we want to make it practical. We want to say, hey, what does it look like to apply it in your daily life? And so that's why we decided to share this part of the whole conversation with you guys. And in the last 2 weeks thereabout, we've been tracking this idea of stewardship, and we looked at the story of the master with servants who goes on a journey and then says, you know what, I'll leave you over my estate, and he leaves his servants over his estates. And we find there was a comparison with the children of the world, and saying like they were shrewd but not believers. And so we arrived at a point where we knew God was calling each and every one of us to stewardship. And then the question was that, what does that look like? What is he calling us to steward? And maybe a good place to start is, why is stewardship important?
So I'd like to touch on the story of the 5 talents. If we look at the person with 5 talents and the person with 1 talent, the person with 1 talent, he had his talent, he didn't steward his talent, and he lost it, and was like, he lost it. It wasn't a good end for him. Whereas everyone else that had talents and they made more and they used them, they got more talents, they got more abundance. So I think just in terms of abundance, like, I want a fruitful life, I want an abundant life. All the gifts I have, if I look after them and use them well, then I get filled up even more. The more I give, the more I get. But the more I try to keep things for myself, the more I lose. So I think that's why stewardship is important. So, it's part of abundance, I think, being a good steward. And
I think that's amazing. Like saying, like, those parables still tell us something, and Jesus, starting off parables, always go, the kingdom of God is likened unto a master who goes on a journey and leaves his servant over his estate, or say, gives his servants 5 talents, 3 talents, and a single talent. And it's that idea for me that there's someone above us, there's like a guy above us, there's something bigger than us. That idea, there's a God who was giving things to us and invites us to steward it properly, and we would give account. And the Christian claim, the Christian belief is that one day we all will before God give account of our lives and all the things He's given to us. And I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful picture. And so also it's like an invitation to steward what we're given, whatever that looks like. But I think a good question off the back of that is, what are you stewarding in this season?
So in this season for me, I'm stewarding peace. I'm stewarding my own peace, I think. Well, I am stewarding my own peace. I think for a long time in my life, I've been an overthinker and caught between so many different things. And because of that, I called myself a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. It's very easy to be depressed in this world today. Like, you just think about anything. If you think about anything too deeply or too longly, or try to analyze anything, it's very easy to see the negative effects of things and how it seems like nothing positive is going well. But I think there needs to be an element of, willing, like, we try to control everything and want to control everything and want to dictate how our lives end up, but we can only live moment to moment, and we can only live day by day. We can't see what happens next week, but what we can do is prepare for it. We can be the best we can be today. That's what stewarding my peace looks like at the moment. Like, every day I do the things I know I can do, the things I know God can trust me to do. I show up for myself, I look after myself, I make sure I do what I need to do, and the rest of the things I let God handle.
That's amazing. I think for me, it's like what I'm stewarding this season is like just being in ministry, full-time ministry, and also studying. So that looks like studying and also being at a placement where I work as a youth worker and also church planting. And that's like, that could seem like a lot. And in order to do that, it means I've got to effectively steward my time, my resources, my finances in order to be able to serve the many things God's put in my life, because I think so much of this season that's just an answer to prayers. Like the days I prayed for, the days I hoped for, the days I looked forward to, and to see that God answered those prayers. Maybe not in the way I thought, but I think it's just that call to steward in the various aspects of my life in ministry. Yeah, that's what I think I'm stewarding. And maybe it'll be great to share a story in your life of how you stewarded, like you shared your piece.
Yeah. So I guess for me right now, my job, I've been trying to get a pay rise for a few months now. And obviously it's something I'm worried about, I think about it. Like, we can always do with more money, like, of course. So it's like, I've been worried about that. Like, how do I approach my managers? Like, do I need to be like kinder? Do I need to work a lot harder? Do I need to do I suck up to the managers? Do I become do I check, what do I need to do? Like, analyzing all these things and thinking about all these things. And to steward my peace, it was taken away from my peace to worry about how I'm going to get my pay rise, to worry about how to go about it. So instead, you leave it to God, and you do what you can. So you go to work, you show up, you do your best, you learn, you train, you get better at your job day by day. And as long as you're doing those things, and you're good and you'll be in the best employee you can be, or giving value to the company, the pay rise will come. That's just, it just has to happen. But I don't know how it happens, but I know if I continue stewarding my peace, it's gonna happen. So I think that's an example of how I'm stewarding my peace at the moment.
That's amazing. And just last week we were tracking, also looking at the story of Jesus in the boat, Jesus traveling. There's a story in Mark's gospel.
Yeah.
I can't tell you where it is right now, but we might put it in the description. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but yeah, we're tracking in Mark, and we see this moment where the disciples are like, "Hey, Master, don't you care that we perish?" And Jesus is just here taking a nap. I think maybe there's a moment to say for some of us, what we need is just a nap. In the midst of that chaos, just take a nap, guys. I don't know. That's probably not good advice, but yeah, do what you would with that advice. But yeah, we were tracking there, and then Jesus wakes up, and then he stills the storm, and he says, "Peace, be still." And we see maybe that's a parallel for the life we have today. We have moments where things might not work out as it seems. So maybe there's anxieties around work situations, there's anxieties around life in general, there's anxieties around provision in a cost of living crisis and whatever. Turn on the news and you would see there's so much chaos in this world, but having Jesus in our boat, having Jesus on our side in our lives means in the midst of the storm we can still have peace, because he's our peace. And I think that's the beautiful picture. Thank you for sharing that. I think for myself, I'd like to share a story, not one of where I've properly stewarded my time or my resources, because this is fairly recent in my life. And it was just last week, just praying, because we were planning into Kingston. And so if you're around Kingston, there's a shout out for you to reach out to us, because it'll be great to connect you, get to know you, and just do life with you. And that's what we imagine.
Yeah.
So just praying in Kingston and saying, Lord, as I go in today on campus to study, would you just give us connections? Because as a team, we've been saying, oh yeah, this month we want to be digging into more connections in the community in the area. And so what does that look like? I was just praying, going in there, I want to have connections. But then because I'd not stewarded my time, I've put off my essay for a bit. And now it was almost say 48 hours to the deadline. And I was just having a lot to do, to be honest. And just having prayed that, I walk into uni, I'm sat in the library, and in this space, someone who we spoke to about a week ago saying, hey, would you like to hear about Jesus? And he just walked off. Now he's come to me and he's saying, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I've got S's, I've got deadlines. And he's trying to have a conversation, but then I'm like, this is the library, like everyone's leaking while we're talking. And it's like, oh, we don't want to be those ones disturbing people. And because of that, didn't really have a conversation. And because I felt like I didn't want to be interrupted, so I could make up for the time I'd lost, so that I could meet my deadline, because I had not effectively stewarded my time enough not to be jittery in the last moment of just trying to fizzle around to get stuff done. And so that happened. And then he goes off away for like the whole day. And at the end of the day, I'm still down in my materials resources, like volumes. I got like 4 or 5 books that I was trying to read to just reference original sources and stuff, like it was church history. So I'm like, he comes at the end of the day and he says, oh, how's it going, bro? I'm like, oh yeah, good. But I'm not done. I still have a lot to do. And just realizing, like, I asked for connections, but didn't have that moment to pause, to stop, and then honor the answers to prayers, because God has sent this person who didn't want to listen to any conversation about Jesus, but felt really connected in the way that he wanted to have a kind of conversations. And that was an opportunity to build on that. But because I had not effectively stewarded my time, I just wasn't interruptible enough. And whereas I grieved that moment, and I'm like, God have mercy. And surely you would, but maybe that's the resultant of not stewarding life or stewarding our time properly. And sometimes it might not be that kind of thing. I don't know how this sharing this feels for you, but sometimes we don't get to see the effect of our lack of stewardship or improper stewardship, or not so good stewardship, however we want to put it. But what do you think is the result of the stewardship? And maybe there's a story you want to share on that.
I think being proactive is the way of good stewardship. I think good stewardship looks like someone who's active with as you said, it was kind of with what you were saying.
Yeah.
It was inactivity with your time.
Yeah.
So it was like misusing your time and misusing, like, maybe you use your time for something else when you know you could have been doing something, and it had a knock-on effect,
Yeah.
So I think it's just doing what you need to do when you need to do it.
Yeah.
Especially with, like, so say you can sing, you can dance. What are you doing to, like, get better at singing? What are you even doing to sing? Like, what do you sing? Like, do you dance every day? Are you, like, recording your dances? Are you, like, learning new moves? Like, say even if you're singing in church or whatever, it could be anything, I think, because all these are talents, all these are things you can steward. Like, even your family, your friends, your loved ones, like, are you actively reaching out to them? Are you stewarding those relationships? Like, are you, like, being proactive about, like, your loved ones? Like, I know you're very good at that, like, calling people, messaging people, checking up on people. Like, that's something I know I could do better, especially with my relationships. Like, are you, like, being proactive about it? I think that's what it looks like to be good. And I think an example would be in my old church. Like, I used to clean, and I wasn't so, like, sure that the cleaning I did was, like, of any value, but I continued to do it. And then my dad told me, that God sees this hard work. God sees you cleaning.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not for nothing, And I just took that with me, and I held on to that, and I prayed to God about it. I held on to the piece that this clean I'm doing is, it's my contribution, and I come to church, I take value from it, as I can get value back.
Yeah.
So it's me looking after the church in my own little way. And lo and behold, at the end of my time at the church, I got, like, a lot of love from people and a lot of, like, things said to me, and it was like a lot of abundance came my way, like from I want to say it's from the cleaning, but I think it's just so I think as we're more proactive about the things we're stewarding, as we take care of it, as we, like, really put our hearts into the things that we're stewarding, like, it always gives back to us. So
that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think just hearing our heart is that realizing, like, whatever we've got, whatever season we're in, God's invited us to steward that effectively, to be a good steward, and whatever that looks like. And I think that's a beautiful place to be, realizing that the creator of the universe, God Almighty, invites us into stewardship. Yeah. And you said something interesting about dominion while we chatted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a more insight with that?
Genesis 1:28. I think for me, understanding that verse from a young age, I always understood that when it's like he says, subdue all the birds of the sea. I'm not going to say it completely right, but
Yeah.
and then he was like, you have dominion over like the animals and like something about having dominion over the earth. And
Yeah.
I think I was looking into the word dominion and the origin of the word dominion, especially looking at it in the context it was used in Genesis and how it was meant.
Yeah.
And learning that dominion meant more to take care of rather than like power over.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think especially that changed a lot of things for me, because it's like we humans, like obviously God created the earth and we're made in the image of God.
Yeah.
So it's like we ourselves are like, we're here to like look after the creation that God has made, and also in a sense create an environment of stewardship for everyone on earth.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, as we've been charged to steward, like we need to look after the earth. We need to look after our lives in a sense.
Yeah.
God's created this life. God's created this body. I find myself aware, like I shouldn't just throw it away. Like it's a gift to experience life. It's a gift to breathe. It's a gift to do all these things. And even in the peace of the storm, like when you come back to the center, that this is all a gift, that this is all just something that you're looking after, that even your life is just, it's a short life we have and we just have to look after it, you know? And even Joshua tossed in, like, it's not our whole identity. Like, it just seems like it is. So while we're Joshua, while we're tossing, we should steward them, we should look after them. And even the life we have, the people we see, we should look after them and steward them.
Yeah.
So I think that dominion verse, instead of trying to control everything, I think sometimes as we humans do, we have done in history, and even myself trying to control everything, like you can just be at peace and, you know, you can give more and then you get loads more back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Dominion meaning to tend, to take care of.
Yes.
I think that's an amazing revelation there.
Yeah.
To look at it that way, because many times we read that scripture, if you're a Christian, we don't see that. We see that as like, hey, just rule.
Yeah, just rule. Yeah, that's
And not ruling away that of care, but ruling away of like,
you're just in charge.
just meet my needs, selfishly and stuff like that. But to look at it as God intends it, steward it, to give back. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
On that note, we've come to the conclusion of our first podcast episode of it. That's so good.
Yeah.
And this is the part where we do the whole like, share, subscribe, and check us out every week. Leave a comment. Let us know what you liked, what could be better. If you've got questions you like us to answer to, put it down. Would love to do that. And we'll see you on the next one.